They're very, very quick. And I mean, some players may be a right fit at the right school. Maybe not Div 1, maybe not all Div 1, but at the right school, there will be a lot of good fits. Because here, like volleyball here for college level, if you have 2 major conferences, if you get to play there, you're like a rock star here. I mean, we have like my school. My school is strong in basketball, but our women's volleyball team have been picking up, and we've won our conference title maybe 3 times in the last 6 years. And every time we play against our rival school, it's 25,000 people watching. Amazing! I'll send you a clip here. I'll send a clip. You see how crazy it is. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I've had parents who've come here and said we've never had this big of a crowd in the U.S. It's like March Madness for basketball, but it's volleyball. You have a 25,000 seat arena filled to the rafters.
Oh my gosh!
And the fan base is not only school based. Our athletes, they have their fans outside of the school, so they're like football stars. You have busloads of people traveling from the province just to watch their players play, and they're not even from the same school.
Wow.
So it's really hard. I mean, to pull out a girl here who will have a chance to be a star in the Philippines, it's a hard proposition, right? Because here, they're very loose here with promotion and sponsorship. So they get freebies, they get commercial endorsements, and it's not banned by the leagues. So that's and a lot of our volleyball stars, they cross over to mass media. So they do TV hosting, they do commercials. So it's a platform, especially the good-looking ones. I mean, they know how to use it. So it's a platform to the next step in their careers.
Yeah.
Right?
And they can get paid. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I know, right? But you still find someone who would like to go to the US for a good education.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of finding the right candidate. Always, it's always finding the right fit.
Yeah.
I'll show you a link. I'll send a link here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, please do send me. I'd like to see what that looks like.
Yeah, crazy volleyball in the Philippines. George, your mic's off.
Well, thank you. I just bought a new microphone because it seems that I'm getting online a lot more often than I supposed to. So, well, yeah, just want to introduce everybody on the call here. So we're gonna keep it small because we want to make sure you still under NCAA compliance, right? That period, like Sean and Tim. Yeah. So we want to make sure that you're all compliant and we're good to go. On the call here, I have 2 very important for us. USCC College Sport Camp with volleyball. So here we go. Just pop up on the call here, Carrie.
Hi.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Hi.
Carrie. So Carrie, basically, I mean, she can tell a little bit herself, but she basically owned Volleyball Academy in Thailand, in Bangkok. When Sean was in Thailand 2 years ago, we went to Korat, and you can tell us what you experienced there. But what we found out was the kid was it's good certain level, but their English is not there.
Yes.
Right. So it's very difficult to have somebody to come here. So I Kelly and I was talking for almost a year now that we were planning for your arrival, Sean.
Yeah, waiting for future, but unfortunately there's COVID-19.
You didn't buy the ticket? We didn't buy the ticket yet, or did you?
Yeah, we had the ticket, but we put it on for another year.
Yeah. No, that was a good plan, and then we were gonna have you stop with in Philippines with Babette, so that way you can help more kids in Philippines. So this is Carrie, and then Babette. It's our good friends and partner in Philippines, and when you were there in Thailand 2 years ago, I had no idea. I got zero knowledge about volleyball. but now know a little bit more and learn about in Asia. It's Thailand, Indonesia and Philippines, right? But not in that order. But those three countries are very popular in volleyball. And Sean and Tim, well, nice to meet you for the first time, Tim.
Likewise, nice to meet you all too.
Yeah, you're only 2 hours away from my house. I live
Oh,
in
is that
Fairfax,
right?
Virginia.
Oh, do you really? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, you're not too far away.
No, always envy your tennis facility.
Oh yeah, well, you know what? And they win enough that they can keep asking for more. That's how it goes. You win and you ask for more and it gets a little bit better, and then it kind of just keeps the cycle going, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was good. So, all right, I just turned over to John and Tim, and Buppet and Carrie like to learn more about how we can. So, John and I, my focus when we're starting this U.S. college sport camp, we want to give opportunity for young Thai or Asian athlete to keep going with education and sport together. What happened was in Thailand, especially me, I came here 30 years ago. Back then, they asked us to stop, go to the school, only play sport. And, we all know that it can't last that long or last forever. Education and sport are the most important. So 30 years ago, I came here for tennis, and then I had opportunity and privilege to play 4 years in college and MBA, working Morgan Stanley. And 8 years ago, I decided we got to do something for Asian kids. So that's how we got started with U.S. College Sport Camp. And, back then we started with 2 sports, tennis and golf, because I tennis and my son play golf. And then a couple of years ago, we started adding more sport, and Sean was kind enough to, took, I would say, a gut move, because you probably never know anything about, volleyball in Asia before or Thailand. So he came there and inspired a lot of kids and the teacher and the coaches. So here we are, Sean.
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. Tim and I put a little presentation together. We'll kind of go through, but yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head when you said, I was there 2 years ago, and the level on the boys and the girls side is really high. The issue that we had was, hey, what is their English equivalency to get into U.S. colleges? Because certainly there were a lot of kids that could play. In the U.S. system, there's a lot of different levels, and I think that there's, Babette, you talked about, somebody that went to UCLA, and there's 300 and plus teams in the U.S. collegiate program that all have 10 to 20 on their roster. You're looking at just Division I is pretty big numbers. So, I think that there's certainly opportunities out there, and hopefully we can go through and talk about what we're doing with our teams due to COVID, and how we can recruit at the end. So we'll kind of go through. Let me share this. So Tim and I kind of put this together on what we're doing with our teams, a couple different things. We generally play our season in the fall, and then in the spring, the kids mainly focus on classes, lifting, and then some training. But we don't really have a ton of competitions in the spring, so we need to keep our players organized. With COVID, we haven't been face to face, so we've had to try and find ways to keep them engaged. To hopefully they're working out on their own. Hopefully they're touching a ball a little bit. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we did with that, and then working with recruits, and a little bit at the end about how we can, what pathways you can take with your kids that you think have potential to play in the States or anywhere. And how to go through and get some of that. So one of the things we did is we talked about, just how do we keep our players that I'm not face to face with engaged, and we had them do some video skills. We talked about our core values for what's important to them and important to our team. And we've kind of taken the internet where we've had kids create different activities. And just not that it's 6-on-6 volleyball, because a lot of them aren't with each other, but just find different ways for them to touch the ball, do some volleyball skills, and have fun so they want to come back and play. And I think for the most part, a lot of them have done that.
Sean, the video is a little bit choppy, at least on our end. I don't know if it's if that's going to happen with future videos. It's just kind of jumping around a lot, so you can't really. It doesn't look like fluid action. Just so you're aware.
All right. Well, one of the other things we did is we talked about that we'd have these meetings once a week, and we gave the kids 30 different values, and we wanted to know, hey, rank them 1 to 10. What's important to you? And then we got on and we talked about each one, and some of them, as you can see, overlap. Accountability and dependability, and what's the difference in those two. And what we did is we came up with 4 core values for our team, and that'll be kind of how we're able to work with our team each year, what's important to them. And one of the reasons why they chose our school is because they have some like-minded opinions. We've done a video where we've just asked the kids to watch a video online, because we have access to watching all the collegiate matches, and pick a player. And I think this is something good for even young players. And it's something that my assistant wants to do with recruits, is say, hey, we have this conversation where we're talking to recruits, and my assistant's like, hey, why don't you watch a match and pick a player and tell me what kind of impact did the player have on the match? What did they do well? What didn't they do well? How do you think they fared during the match? Are there any tendencies that they have? Just to understand their level of volleyball understanding. So those are some of the things that we did.
Sean, sorry, so it's cut off. So you asked a recruit to analyze the game, and then they write all the stuff to you?
Yeah, not necessarily this much what we have here. This is one of our players that we did. But just to get them an idea, or to give us an idea, like, what do they see when they watch volleyball? Like, do they understand, hey, this player was very involved, this player was successful, this player wasn't successful. So Tim, you want to?
Yeah, awesome. And when it gets to the videos, since those were choppy, if you just want, I can just kind of describe them rather than play them. And Bobette and Carrie, I mean, it's such a small group. If you guys want to jump in, and if you have a question, want to make sure that this presentation, I feel like, we have some stuff that we want to talk about, but if there's some things that are important to you, we're here to share best practices and share knowledge, and hopefully just collaborate in a way that we can all kind of learn something. So if you have a question, just jump in and just ask, or hopefully, we can get through this and have some time for questions at the end. But for us, during COVID, we've really wanted to try and engage our girls over social media. Obviously, they're on their phones all day long. When you're stuck inside and cooped up with just your family, you're probably on your phone even more. So we've done some social media challenges with our girls. We did one where, we challenged them to do a 30 to 60-minute yoga workout, and they got bonus points if they included a family member, bonus points if they did it more than once. And it was just these week-long challenges, and we would have a team meeting once a week, and whoever had the most points by doing it was the winner. We had a protein ball challenge, which basically we just posted a couple recipes for that and the banana bread, and girls were challenged to add in a secret ingredient, or also share it with their families, who would rate how good the food was. And kind of silly things when you stop and think about it. But a lot of our players are just so go, go, go that when things stop, we really want to make sure that they were accounted for. So yeah, here's a couple pictures as we move along with the protein ball challenge. We had them rate it. And also if their families could guess the secret ingredient, they got bonus points. So here's some pictures. There's one of our players' brother rating it a 4 out of 5. So those were some of the things that we did on social media just to get some interaction going between the team. We've also did or conducted a lot of training tutorials. So for example, I took this clip of the Wisconsin libero, who's actually on the far end and left back, just used volumetrics. And again, the video is choppy, so it's probably not going to work to play. But basically, we showed a very small clip of her digging the ball. And from there, I posted a video breaking down her move. So for her, in the Wisconsin libero, it's kind of this lateral lunge where she stops, gets low. Then you can see this is kind of how I warmed up. So I wanted to show our girls, here's what a high level, low lateral dig looks like. And then here's how you can train it yourself, just kind of step-by-step progression. So we did that for that particular skill move, and you can advance. And that's just me diving around in my garage, which looks ridiculous. But you can go ahead and advance the video, Sean, if you want, or the slide.
That's a good exercise.
Did some there's my wife. She doesn't play volleyball, but she helped me film these videos. And again, just wanted to show the girls, here's some things that you can do with minimal equipment. So believe it or not, I don't have a volleyball here at home. So this is me working with a different inflatable ball. And she's tossing a lacrosse ball, and we would just do some lacrosse ball coordination stuff. I would pepper against the wall or have some sort of volleyball skill move against the wall, and she would toss in a lacrosse ball, and just some hand-eye coordination. And these are just representative of the kinds of things that we were sharing. And we would share it over, you can go to that next screen, Sean. We'd share these training tutorial videos over the Discord app. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this, but a lot of gamers actually use the Discord app. So we created our own, you create your own server in the app, and that's what you can see, the little logo, the W&M volleyball there on the left. And all of our girls belong to the central server. But under that, you can see these listed channels. So we have culture and volleyball skills and hobby skills and motivation. And under each one of these channels, and you can see the volleyball skills channel is featured here, everybody can just post content in there. They can post links. This is where I shared my training tutorial videos. And so the girls can just click play. They can comment on it. They can react to it. It's really collaborative. So what we wanted to do was create a warehouse where everybody could share information all at once. It can be really difficult when you're separate in different locations geographically, or even separated by time, to have the sort of interaction that we would have on campus. So we use the Discord app for that. Some things that we have coming up, just engagement-wise, we're doing it. This is I tried to screenshot a PDF that we shared with the girls. It's called the 2020 Cold Call Challenge. And basically, we've asked our girls, we've spent a lot of time. You saw Sean was working with team culture with his team. I'm starting year 3 at William & Mary. So we've spent the first 2 years going over some of those key cultural attributes. And now for us, we want to try and expand our girls' level of preparedness for the workforce, and also their own leadership qualities. So this 2020 cold call, we asked each girl to basically identify 2 or 3 important connections to them, and then try and seek out those connections and introduce themselves. And so these days, there's no such thing really as a cold call. You can't pick up your phone and just dial somebody. You can, but it's a little bit more difficult because phone numbers aren't listed. But we wanted them to connect over social media, or LinkedIn, or email, or if they had a phone number, and ask these people that they looked up to, whether it was a volleyball player or a coach or a professional contact in some sort of area that they're going to enter into in life after college, and try and get to know them and engage them and create a connection. We know that networking is really important, and yet a lot of people don't necessarily have the skills or haven't had the opportunity to practice those skills. So that's one of the things we're doing. We're doing a bunch of other stuff that Sean's going to show you here on this next slide. And all of these are just means to continue to engage our team. And a lot of these we put in the hands of our girls. So the Friday Fitness Challenge, for instance, we challenge one player each week to come up with a workout or a physical challenge that they then put the video into our Discord app, which you saw earlier, and all the other girls can see it and try it out. They can talk about it on social media. We're going to be doing some virtual boot camps. And again, I showed you one of those videos of the Wisconsin Libero. All our coaching staff has, each is responsible for position groups. I train the setters and liberos, for instance. And so with the setters and liberos, I'm going to take them through a positional boot camp where every day for a week straight, we're going to show a virtual video, maybe a training technique breakdown, a tactical breakdown of something that they should be doing in a match. That's the beautiful part about Volumetrics, our video sharing service, of course, is that you have access to a ton of professional matches. So that's going to be pretty fun to do. And then, again, all these other things are just kind of some initiatives that we're going to take up with the team to keep them engaged.
Yeah, and I think the engagement part is really big with the U.S. programs, and the reason being is that even when we're in our system and in training, when the kids are on campus, we're pretty limited to the number of hours that we can connect with our team, that we could actually practice. You're limited to 4 hours a day. That includes weight training, that includes video meetings, that includes on the court training. So it's not like we can have multiple practices throughout the day, that they have to be pretty efficient and to come in at high pace and create an intensity level to go for 4 hours. You need to be able to have some things to keep them going, because a lot of the U.S. collegiate players have been playing club volleyball for a long time, and that way it doesn't get stale, and it's an enjoyable game that they can keep playing and that they want to come to practice rather than treat it like a job.
So what do you mean?
When,
I'm sorry, Tim.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead,
So what do you mean, John? Like when they play in the club, there's a lot more matches and tournament that they.
Oh yeah, I think, and I don't remember what the number is. Maybe Tim would know, but I think that the club players from the time they're 10 and 11 on are playing 50 plus matches a year. Some are playing in the hundreds with their school team and then a club team, that they're just playing so many matches that I think if you're not doing different things to keep it interesting, it just wears them down, where it becomes a job.
I see.
And an interesting also note to that is, Bob, you had mentioned that there are two schools that players are trying to compete locally for. There's so much opportunity here. Like Sean said, there's 330 or whatever Division I schools. So if you're not trying to create a personal connection to your athletes, there's also the fact that they may transfer. And if they're a good player, you don't want them to do that just because there are so many options out there. So creating an emotional attachment is part of what we're going for. During this little electronic, I guess, again, the pandemic situation, we use another app called Team Builder. And it's just a place where our girls follow their online workouts. So you can go ahead and click there. I shared a couple screenshots with you. Basically, you just click into any day of the week, and it shows what the entire workout of the day, and that's what you're seeing there in the gray box. And some of this is just shorthand that our girls understand. But the Team Builder app is really great because you can see, you can track everything on your phone as the workout progresses. So our strength coach, Alex Brzeski, and that's where you see the Brzeski warm up. He plans and programs all these workouts. The girls hop on their phone, open up the Team Builder app, and it tells them everything that they do from start to finish. And then at the very end, they rate RPE and duration. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but rate of perceived exertion. So the girls rate how hard the session was and how long the session was. And the reason I highlighted this is because it's really important in the US, at least, as we return from the virus, we have really strict acclimatization procedures or recommendations. So how quickly the girls can ramp back up and get into volleyball shape. And the NCAA has recently published some recommendations about how much you can and should be doing. And using RPE and practice duration or training duration is a great way. And there's a lot that goes into this, but it ends up being pretty simple to track. That's one way to gauge how quickly your girls are able to ramp back up, or guys, and just a way to monitor the load that's put on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's really important. And the number one thing that we're really trying to stress with our kids is, hey, when we come back and we're all together, you have to be concerned with your own fitness. And for us, I'm not as technologically savvy as Coach Doyle, but we just give our kids a calendar that looks like this. And it's like, hey, here's your lifting program. There's an agilities and plyometrics. It's the same idea that each day you just open it up and follow that day, what it is. It's a lot of, their lifting where they can fill in the program. If they have weights, if they don't have weights, here's like a Tuesday program. Here's what your agilities are. Here's what your core is and conditioning at the end, because we need them to be in the best shape. All they can really control during this pandemic at home is their aerobic conditioning. They can do some strength, but it's not the same as being in and having the facilities that we'll have in the fall. I think that that's one of the big shocks for people that come from overseas, not just Southeast Asia, but from Europe. We have a bunch of players from South America. I've got 2 Brazilians on my team, and they're just, they're not used to the physical training that we'll lift 2 days a week during the season. And then out of season, we'll lift 3 days a week and do some workouts and plyos and jump training. With that, I mean, I think some of the recruiting stuff, and I know, George had talked about this a little bit, what U.S. coaches are looking for and how to get them your information or your players the information. I think it's always a good idea to, send an email, but then reach out directly. And it certainly, I don't think is out of the, I get 30 emails a day from people that want to come to my school and play and look through videos. I think a couple things individually that players, I don't need a 25-page document on why your player wants to come to Marist. I need a couple information points. What do they want to study? What are their test scores? If it's a foreign student, have they taken a TOEFL? What's their English? I think what their height and, whether it's centimeters or inches, that's, just something that they can do. If they're an attacker, what their approach touch is. And that's with a full approach. And a lot of times I put basket, like somebody says, hey, I touch 10'3", and then they jump and they're at the bottom of the net on a basket, like, or anything that you can do to standardize some of the jump testing. I think it's important to know, like, how old they are and when they would like to start college, whether it would be the fall of this year, so fall of 2020, fall of 2021, if it's 2 years away, 3 years away, what year they're going to start, because we have some recruiting rules that we're allowed to talk to some students, but not allowed to talk to younger students until certain time frames. And I think that that's an important thing right there. And then the last part is just some video of gameplay. And I think every coach is going to have a different request for video. Some like skills tapes. I can show you companies that have, highlight tapes with music. I'm not sure we need all that. A lot of times I'll watch it and I just have it on mute anyhow. But I think some gameplay where you can see some skills, and I'm going to switch because that graphic was bugging me. But I think some skills, and I had being a setter, it's, the number one thing is, again, the same height, age. And I think whatever your skill is, whether it's setting, attacking, digging, block, or whatever your position is going to be in college, you want to make sure that you can send some video of you doing that skill. Tim, you have anything?
Yeah, Sean's exactly right. I mean, video is way more important, I think, than the text of any sort of introductory email or introductory contact is, here's video of me playing. Even you know, when your athlete makes a video, it should jump from skill to skill to skill. So Sean had mentioned, like, if you're a setter, if you're an attacker, show clips of you attacking. That clip doesn't have to be 20 seconds long. It can be, you know, a 2-second jump and swing, then another 2-second jump and swing, and another 2-second, and just pile as many of those as you can in 60 seconds. And that basically gives as much as most coaches here in the US need to see. And if they get really interested, they ask for a full match.
I think one other thing with the video, a lot of times players will send video in, and like Tim and I will get 30 different emails with videos a day. A lot of times when I'll click on a video, if the play, like, I don't know who the player is, and they say, well, I'm an outside hitter, and you watch the video, you don't know, are they on that side, are they on the near side? I think it's important to identify, hey, I'm the left side attacker on the near, I wear number 7 on my jersey, or I'm number 4 in the black jersey, or I'm number 3 in the white jersey. So you know who they are quickly, because there's nothing really more frustrating than getting a video from a player. You go through their information, then you go to the video, and you don't know which one they are. And so I think that that's important to be able to identify who's who. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, it's okay. And if they do write, you know, if I'm writing to Sean and I want Sean to recruit me, I would probably have done a little bit of research on Marist and try and make a personal connection so that he understands when he reads that email from me, I'm saying, hey, Sean, I've done my Coach Byron, I've done my research on Marist. It looks like it's a great match for, you know, kind of the business education that I'm looking for. I've seen your resume. You have great training experience. I'd love to learn from a coach like you. And I'd also love to turn a program around and, you know, take it to the next level. I'm way more inclined to read an email like that than it just says, hi, coach, I want to play at your university. I work really hard, and here's a video, which means nothing because it's just so vague. So I think that would go a long way as well on something we normally advise.
So the other thing is I threw some websites on there that I think are important. The College Board has some standardized testing sites, SAT, ACT. The TOEFL test is going to be important, and the number one that every kid that comes to a American college will have to do is register with the NCAA Initial Eligibility Center. And so before they can take a visit, they have to be registered, and it just is going to ask for a lot of, you know, transcript information. I think with foreign students, it's important to be earlier because there are student visas. You'll have to apply for your visa. You have to do some scheduling, and currently we have a foreign student from Brazil that she transferred, and the span of time that she transferred and was out of the country is she has to reapply for a new student visa, but the embassies are closed. So luckily she's very bright and on top of it, and kind of banging down the door to the embassy to get her student visa renewed. But I think there's a lot of those things that are that foreign students have to go through that domestic US students don't even have to, like, they just apply and they end up in schools. Whereas a lot of times a foreign student is going to have to fill out a lot more paperwork and demonstrated financial abilities, you know, including scholarship, and to go through all that. So what questions do you have about kind of what we're doing, or the recruiting process, or how can we answer any more questions?
Hi, Sean.
Hi,
I
Karen.
have questions. so far the international school student here in Thailand, their skill of the volleyball is not that you have been seeing that the Korea students, if you compare with them. Because most the international students here, they are more focused on it. So the video that maybe the George sent to you from daughters, so she only have that maybe 1 week, 3 days for practicing at the school. So during the weekend, she need to study, and it's really hard to people here in Thailand. I mean, the international student here can practice like every day or like every weekend. Have a lot of match here, and also the Thai school compared to our international school here, they are not really not really welcome our international school to go compete with them, because it's different level if compared to the local kids. So it's very hard for those kids are having a really good video to show the NCAA board.
Yeah, I mean, I do think like what Tim said is it doesn't need to be a professionally produced video. I think it's almost if somebody jumps to hit a ball and they have a video on their phone and they can video them hit a ball and then save it. And then that's, a lot of times that's good enough. I mean, I think that you want to be able to see how the players jump, how they attack. If it's setters, you want to see how they can set the ball. Like the amount of practice time, I think is, you know, we have players we have a player in our program that didn't start playing volleyball until she was a sophomore in high school, till she was 16 years old, and plays for us and is an all-league player and fantastic. So, as well as there's plenty that have started younger and just played hundreds and hundreds of matches. A lot of times they have some poor habits that, as a college coach, we just kind of deal with. Whereas somebody that hasn't had that training doesn't really have bad habits, or if they do, we can kind of switch those. So I think the two things are, you know, that they can get a video, even if it's just a clip of one or two, you know, contacts on a phone to send in to get an idea of, you know, put a face with an email.
John, when you were in Thailand last time, were you, which one you see that kids in Thailand is lacking, technique or tactic?
George, can you say that again? I'm going to try and turn my volume up on my computer here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Wait, no problem. When you were in Thailand 2 years ago, did you find out like Thai kid was more need help in technique or tactic when they play games?
It was probably tactics, just tactically. Like Harry said, that there's not a lot of competition. I mean, physically, that group physically would challenge in a lot of college programs. Just the fact that they could go in and they were physical, they could jump, they were quick and fast, and could play. And you know, the competitiveness was there. I think a lot of it is just tactics because of the one thing that the U.S. systems have that is ahead is that there's so much technology that coaches and resources, you know, are dedicated, where you've got, you know, I've got 4 people on my staff, Tim's got 4 people on his staff. We each have a strength coach. So we don't really have to do every component, but we've got people to help really develop these kids. And I think that that's where, you know, certainly the Thai players that I work with would compete in many college gyms.
Okay, and you see them in a good level.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Carrie, anything
Yes.
else?
Well, that's
How many matches that your kids in your academy play a year?
well, okay. So as you know, we or me or our friends start this club 3 or 4 years ago, and the reason why we are because most of the match in Thailand for the Thai local kids, not for those international kids. And I mean, the international students here, we have many students who will love to play volleyball, but they don't have a place like a club when the season's off to play. The only place everyone hear me?
Could you repeat it again, please? The last 30 seconds.
I forgot.
Yeah, it's probably internet. Was it raining in Thailand right now?
Yes.
No wonder.
Very bad.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, my
How many matches do they play a year?
you mean for Thai people or our international student?
For your international academy?
Oh, I would say only one season. That's really not the club that we can compare with the international. So me and my friend, we start the academic because we want to find a lot of match as much as we can for those kids who will love play volleyball here in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to bring them to the Thai school to have a match, to have a play. But sometimes the Thai school, they are not really open to us because there's some policy issues or some when it's the competition season, they don't have a time to compete with us because our level is such different with them if compared to them, especially the same age. Yeah. So
Sure.
this is part. Yeah. So, but we will try to find a lot of match from like the age like maybe 2 years younger and compare with us. Like a friendly match, yes. So that's
I do think that when I was there, the training is very, it's so much better in terms of the skill grouping that you have, 14-year-olds with 15, 16, and 17, and 18, and 19, and they just have to learn how to play at a faster pace. And
yes.
That's one of the things we really don't do well in the U.S. is we take all the same age and you play together, and then all the same age and you play together. And there's an occasional player that'll play up an age group because they're better. Whereas I found in Thailand it was, 14-year-olds playing against 21-year-olds, and they were like, okay, figure it out, and that helps their development when they're younger in terms of being able to deal with the speed of play.
Yep. Yes.
Hey, Sean, by the way, your painting, is that Chinatown?
The back here?
Yeah.
That's Khao San Road.
Yeah.
Khao San Road. Yeah.
You were with us when we bought that.
Is that
Good.
Khao San Road in Thailand?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. George took us there where we had our crickets.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, Tim, you got to come to Thailand next time. Come.
Man, I would
love
to do that. He's Sean has expressed several times how impressed he was with both the level of talent and how qualified you guys are really to play. That's just something that I don't think a lot of American coaches are exposed to. We don't always get to see the levels from around the world. So it's nice when somebody like Sean will go there and then come back and says, you know, there's just great volleyball all around the world. And, so I would love to get out there and see it firsthand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only thing we need, they need 1,500 SAT to get to your school, right?
Yeah.
we're a little bit different in terms of I guess qualifications to get in. However, because of this pandemic, they've actually said that you don't need an SAT or ACT score for the next 2 years. So you know what? Now's the time.
Oh, they say now next 2 years, not just this August?
For next August as well. William and Mary at least has said, you know what? No SAT.
Great.
So we told our 2021 incomers, don't worry about taking it 5 times to get in. You know, just take it 1 time.
Tim. Hello.
Hi, Babette. What's going
on? Believe it or not, I've been to your school. I have. I have a brother who lives in Maryland, and my niece did the college tour at William and Mary.
No kidding.
So we did the whole Busch Garden thing, side trip, the water park. We did that for like a week. So it's a great campus. I love it.
That's awesome.
Beautiful.
I have a daughter who plays Division I golf, and she was already committed somewhere else, but she wanted to go there. It's a nice, great campus, high academics. It's a good fit for the right person. It's a great fit. We did that. We went there at night, and they had that ghost tour.
Yeah.
We did that.
You're right. It's and you mentioned something that's pretty important is just fit. You know, every school is looking for something different, and every athlete is looking for something different too. You know, the kids who come here at least are, like you mentioned, they want a great education. We're not a Power 5 school, but we are really strong mid-major with, all the resources of a Power 5. We just have a little bit more of less of a business feel to it than maybe a Power 5 school. So
School has a great history. You look at especially I'm a big history guy, so they have this. I know they have this building where they have a plaque erected for the company that they raised for the 76 revolution. And it had like 8 founding fathers on that company that they school produced like 12 founding fathers, 14. It's a great school to be in. I mean, steeped in history, right? It's like it's like traveling back in time. If you're into those things, that's a great place. I really love
thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
So Babette, we should take advantage of SAT waiving policy here. Do you have anybody in the Philippines?
It's like this, Sean. In the Philippines, in Southeast Asia, if you rank volleyball, we're probably behind. Number 1 is probably Thailand. Thailand has a lot of great talent, just top to bottom. Maybe I think George and Carrie will confirm. But the problem I think there is that because they have so much talent, they have a rich pro league. So not a lot of players, the top players don't go to school because there's just a lot of money to be made just playing pros in Thailand. They have a lot of great talent. Then probably after Thailand, maybe Vietnam is number 2. Then Philippines number 3. So I'll chime into your question, Sean. In the Philippines, we have a lot of small school conferences all over the Philippines. Traditionally, in any sport, Metro Manila, where we are, it's like 14 cities. Like in every major sport, it's always in Metro Manila. But not volleyball. Volleyball, you go to the provinces, you'll find a jewel somewhere tucked in. It's a 4-hour flight to Manila. So I mean, like the schools I sent you, they don't even recruit in Manila. They just go find the jewels outside, and they'll find some 6'2" girl playing in the provinces, and that's a diamond in the rough. They have that. So season wise, they probably play. They have a regular school conference, probably 14 to 18 games, depending on the size of the conference. Then the top girls, then most of the schools play like a second preseason or postseason conference, so 12, 14 games. Then the top players play in the national seniors championship. So it's by and it's not by school. It's by city and by region. So you get picked for a selection. It's an all-star team. That's where all the coaches go. So if you're the good coaches, they recruit at the national high school champion. They have it's like a national high school championship for all sports. So they go there for volleyball, and they pick a lot of good girls. If you have a keen eye, like that video I showed you, one school there, they don't even the coach has a great eye for spotting talent, and he gets girls that are not even in the map. And in a year's time, they're great. They make the national team, right? In terms of playing, like Thailand, we're very behind tactically. Even at college level, that's what they told us. Even our national team, whenever we have foreign coaches coaching on we have a pro league now for men and women. They say, yeah, we're technically strong. Technically, they know how to, but they're tactically weak. But it's nothing that good coaching cannot cure, right? Good coaching, I mean, if you go under a good system, you will learn the tactics. So we are a bit behind. We're not that tall. Well, right now we have some tall players, but they get gobbled up by the top schools. So it's a big uphill climb to get this top player. Our top players can play in the US, definitely. I have one girl in our school, probably 6 feet tall, outside hitter, amazing. I think she can play mid-level in the US. I'll send you some tapes, I'll send you some clips. I think one path that I want to explore is maybe it's better to recruit them, maybe freshmen out of college, because at least by that time they're a little bit more refined, they're more polished as players. I mean, and they get to play better competition. So maybe that's another path that we may want to explore, instead of getting high school players out of, maybe you can get a transferee who's a freshman here in the Philippines, and maybe they're good enough to play at mid-level in the US. Maybe, yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, do you look at a certain, because you were asking Sean, when you send info, send them their height. So I know in volleyball there's an Italian coach in the Philippines who says there's a dimension, there's a bio dimension that determines whether a girl can be a good volleyball player. I mean, there's a science to that. Amazing. And we didn't even know that there's a science in measuring a particular body type that will be successful in volleyball. I mean, assuming that they get all the good training, they follow that a certain body type will be more successful. I never even knew that. So are you looking for a certain height or certain body type for a player?
Well, I think it depends on the position. Like, again, if you're an attacker, it's not necessarily their height, it's what their jump touch is and how many times in a row can they touch that. The one thing that the US has that really nowhere else in the world has is our substitution rule. Is instead of it being one substitution, you're allowed multiple substitutions, which allows more smaller players to play and just play across the back row and sub out and then sub back in and sub out. And you can continue to do that. And that's why a lot of the US rosters are, I mean, I'm not sure how many are on Tim's, but like, we're going to have 18 players on our roster next year.
Wow, that's amazing.
And playing an international style where you only get one entry, six substitutions in one entry. That's, if your players 13 through 18, you have no chance of even going in the game.
Of course,
like,
yes.
You're not going to play. Whereas for us, I can play 15 players in a set, and then play 15 in the next set, and then so I think the height requirement. I mean, if you're a setter or a libero or a defensive specialist, you can find opportunities because there's those substitution rules.
Yeah, well, like that video I sent to you and Tim. We had one girl here she was the one who made volleyball very popular in the past 10 years. She's like a phenom. She's only like 5'9", but she's an attacker, and she can hang, she can jump. I mean, her athleticism is off the charts. She plays in Japan. She plays in Thailand. She's plays as an import, and she's only 5'8", 5'9". But she can hang, and she can do multiple. She can jump. She can reach high beyond the rim. and she can and even as good as she is, she's not even technically up there yet. She still has a lot of room for growth. So we have a lot of those types of players. I mean, it's really hard to convince them to. It's never been a path in the Philippines. Nobody has ever looked at that. Never. We had this one girl I told you but she's 6'5", and she's like a U.S. player. She's 6'5", jumps out of the building. I don't know why she didn't leave. I think she got paid a lot of money to stay. Her school pays her, and she has a sister who's like 6'3". There's two of them, and they both play like U.S. players, and they never left. They got recruited by UCLA. They didn't even look at the offer. So but maybe. I mean, you're right. I mean, if you find the right players who wants to have a different experience, and even that rotation rule in the U.S., that's a big thing, because here in the Philippines, you have players who play 4 years and never get to see any court time. You just run around in between timeouts and sets. That's all you do for 4 years, right? So,
Yeah.
so that's the big thing. I mean, that might entice the right candidate.
Yeah, I have a questions. So I have two. I mean, I have two really talented boys in our academic. But they are really passionate about volleyball. Other than volleyball, they don't play any other sport unless there's volleyball first, their priority. And it's when they, if they really want to play in America, or their, because both of them are freshmen this year, so I think they have a real opportunity to do a lot of paperwork and preparation this time.
Carrie, can you say that again? You broke up a little bit.
Oh, okay. So, besides by that, I have two really talented boys. They really love volleyball, and both are really athletes. But when it comes to volleyball, they put the volleyball as the first priority. And they're high. I mean, if compared to American, they're still growing because they are only grade 9 freshmen this year. So both of them already in our program for 3 years. So they found that they really love volleyball. So I think those two boys, I want to share some information with them because their parents also really supporting them to doing volleyball. And those boys really love to do their college in America. Yeah. And it's just for the boys.
He's grade 11, grade 9, right? Okay.
Both of
I want
them.
to make sure.
Now.
So what do you
they
think,
are
Sean and
already-
or Tim? What would you recommend them to do from now until grade 12? Is it American school grade 9 or year 9?
American school.
Okay,
American
American
school.
school. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Those two boys with our program for 3 years. So they are in our school for varsity team already. So they are hit the first year in the school team already.
Okay. So what do you recommend them to do for grade 9? Boys would be harder than girls, right? Just like any other sport. Is it in volleyball?
Sean, you want to go or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
I mean, Sean has probably more experience recruiting boys, but at the same time, them being in grade 9, I mean, they still obviously with a couple of years on the clock ready to grow. And the men's game is just a little bit different time cycle than the women's game. The women's game tends to look 2 and 3 years out at their recruits. And I think the men's game, although they've gotten a little bit further out in the years past, they're still looking at grade 11 and 12 mostly. And a lot of schools are almost all in the latter half of grade 11 and then into grade 12. Of course, there's not as many Division I schools. So, I don't know if your boys would be challenged by, just less opportunity, but that means that they have to be probably a little bit more persistent, I would imagine, in reaching out to some of those schools. But there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, at the same time, every men's or boys program here is looking for guys who can come in and jump and bang the ball. And if they're that skilled and they're that talented, because the men's game doesn't operate under the same substitution principle as the women's game. So they need players who have ball control. They need players who can stay in the game. So anybody who fits that mold, the men's programs are going to pursue no matter where they come from. So Sean, I don't know if you want to add to that, but I would just suggest that the boys from now continue to train hard and really start to focus their efforts. When they start to get into that grade 11, they become really aggressive with how much they're sending contacts, look up schools in all the different divisions, including in Division 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. Because there's obviously, Sean is going to be a Springfield ad, I'm sure, for him. But even a Division 3 school like Springfield is, a repeat national champion and can make finances work too, to some degree. So there's great options. Sean, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just think, the finances in the women's game, where you're allowed to give 12 full scholarships. In the men's game, you have 4.5 for everyone. So it's very rare that a player is on a full scholarship. A lot of times it's 60% or 70% of tuition, and they have to fill that void and the difference. But that being said, I know that the men's coaches are, because there's so many boys players internationally in the States, they work pretty cohesively. I mean, when I coached the men at Rutgers, the best player that I recruited, I never saw play. I got from the Hawaii coach, called and said, "Hey, do you have a scholarship left?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "I have a guy from Bulgaria. I'll send you his video." And that was when they used to have it on the VHS, and you put it in the tape, and he sent it to me, and I put it in, and nothing showed up. It was blank. So I called him and said, "Mike, I can't see your video." And he just said, "Trust me, this kid is awesome. We don't have a scholarship, but he'd be great for you." And so I took him on his word, and we got him, and he was great. He plays in the professional beach tour now, and that I think happens a lot more in the men's game. That a lot of times, you'll write and make contact with one coach, and they'll say, "Hey, this guy, we've got 4 outside hitters. I know you need an outside hitter. Why don't you look at this kid?" And they'll pass him around. Whereas a lot of times in the women's game, you tell me you've got a great player, and Tim's my buddy, but I'm not going to say, "Hey, Tim, hey, you want to fight over this kid with me?" And I'll try and keep it secret and tell him that, "Hey, no, we don't have anybody." And then she'll show on our roster in the fall.
Is that because it's not enough boy player here in U.S., or is not that common?
Yeah, I think that in the men's game, there's so few teams that the impact that one great player can have on your program can make the difference. Whereas in the women's game, there's so many players that you can have one great player and they make your team better, but it's not a difference maker like it is in the men's game. I think in the men's game, there are teams that are pretty average, and they get one great player, and all of a sudden the team is one of the top teams in the country.
I would think that Sean maybe have a camp the summer or something, and then when it's safe travel again, or team has a camp, they should come to their camp to explore and to learn more.
I think that's a great way. Obviously there's a travel distance, but that's a great way to explore colleges. If you're interested in going to colleges, boys or girls, is to go to their camp. And that's the one time that coaches can really work with prospects.
I have a friend she took her daughter to do the volleyball camp in Canada. And after they come back, they say, Bangkok Volleyball Academy is better training program than the Canada. Yeah, so fun. Yeah. So, which is if before I send the information to my friend or families, I want to make sure that when they go to the American, they are learning that very intense, because we train here, as you know, Thai people, right? We train like very, just Sean, you say. So our coaches here also train my player are really very intense and very demanding that way when they come to our club, what they need to learn today. So when they go to the Canada for the volleyball camp 2 weeks and they come back, they say, I think Miss Carey's camp is better than the Canada's camps. So I think maybe if my player go to America or my friend's son or daughter, they go there, they want to find something that really intense, that can better than me here, because the facility in America is much better than Thailand with the aircon core, yeah, right? So
Sure.
yeah. So. Mm-hmm.
I would say if they come to camp, knowing how camps here in America operate, they may not find a level at camp that's more intense than your gym, because the camps that get operated here will go for 2 to 3 days, and you're programming for who knows what level of. I think at that point it's more about exposure to the campus and exposure to the coaches. Can I envision myself being trained by this sort of coach? Can I envision myself walking to class around this sort of campus and getting some familiarity with that, rather than, is this specifically the style of volleyball that I'm trained in? Because it's almost guaranteed to be different than when they actually arrive on campus, and it is that intensity level that they expect.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so all right, so I think we come to the end. It's an hour already, as I promised, Sean and you. Babette, Kyle, now you connected with both great coaches.
Yeah.
If you know anybody want to come to US, we certainly
We'll find one.
or more. Okay.
Yeah, we'll try to find them.
Yeah. No, and this is Kyle. He worked with Babette, but Kyle also came to US because of tennis.
Yep.
Kyle
Did you play at Yale?
Yeah, I played D1 tennis at Santa Clara University. If you guys are familiar with the school, so I graduated in 2012. So now I'm working with Bobbitt here in the Philippines, trying to get as many student athletes there in the US, because I believe that it's a great opportunity for all these kids, regardless volleyball or tennis. And Bobbitt was right. No one here in the Philippines has ever taken the route of being a student athlete in the States with regards to volleyball. So hopefully in the next this coming year, the next year, we will be able to send a few kids your way. That's the goal, right? And I think it will be a great eye opener for the volleyball community here in the Philippines, because Thailand's ahead already. So that's what we're trying to build here in the Philippines. So we'll definitely keep in touch with you guys.
Great. Thanks, Kyle.
And another person joined, but he mailed it. It's he's on my team, and he's our advisor. He just recently retired, and he also play table tennis at the highest level. But he played for US too, Olympic. Couldn't hang. Is on the line, but I'm not sure he is on the video, but he's been listening.
Oh, hi everyone.
Hi there.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, it's been really great understanding how things work over there. Basically, I used to live in the States for 9 years, and I was on the U.S. national team, but in the sports that what you guys like to call it, the basement sports, it's table tennis or ping pong. You would hear that. But anyway, I used to play for the U.S. team, and I was
Wow.
in the U.S. Hall of Fame, basically.
Wow.
And I was one time at the as a coach during the Olympics, but I didn't go there. It was the first time in 1988. So George just basically asked me if I can be of any help, and since I used to live there, I graduated from the States. Everything I did was basically from table tennis. So I found this is very interesting, and so this is a very nice opportunity, knowing and understanding the kind of things that you can really help kids with what great potential in athletes in the sports that they're doing, and then the ability to combine them and get good education as well. So nice meeting you all.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Wow.
Okay,
Yep,
so
that's it. Okay.
so hopefully 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we will have Asian volleyball, players that's been to U.S. college. That's the objective. Right now, we have almost every sport here.
Yeah.
But well, thanks again, Sean and Tim.
Oh, thank
And-
you.
Yeah, thank you. And please, I mean, share, you have our contact info. Please share it with the group if they don't already have it, our emails and our phone numbers. And I know we're available on WhatsApp or whatever is, if there's any questions or anything you want to contact after this, I know I'd love to connect, and I'm sure Sean would too.
Okay, wonderful. And then, well, I didn't ask you about the COVID situation yet. Will you be able to have a season? Or are you planning to? Where are we right now?
Nobody really knows. I mean, I think the NCAA.
And then we will have after July 1st. We open July 1st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
we
Yeah.
start July 1st.
Okay, but
I don't
for
think the
US side, we
NCAA
don't know, right?
Yeah, I don't think the NCAA even decides till after July 4th about what happens with NCAAs, but we'll find out.
Okay, but the soccer just announced yesterday that they allowed to train again June 1st.
Really?
Oh, did they? I actually didn't see that.
Yeah, yesterday. So it was only NCAA, not NAAA yet. But so they, all the coaches are very happy.
George,
there's
all
a
the
lot
Cal
of
State schools and all the UC schools are not having classes in the fall.
I know. The NCAA has allowed the college athletes to return in June. So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know which decision was probably more premature, but we'll see. We're hopeful.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again, everybody, and stay safe. All right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
John.
you.
Thanks, Tim, for your time.
Thanks, all.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Lang si Elton mag